trying to pass himself off as part of the hip hop culture, that was unsustainable. That was and Shannon again. What he should have realized is like, wow, based on the lane and brand that I've chosen, Shannon's carrying me. I can't be in this hip hop lane because when he was with Stephen A. Smith, it was less of a hip hop lane and it was more, hey, these are two newspaper journalists. He came over to FS1 and partnered with a non-journalist, an athlete, and they turned it into a hip hop show. And an old white guy is the face of a hip hop show. That I can't believe the death took this long. And to me, it's why the peak of it was never that high, despite all the promotion and all the work they did trying to hype him up. They topped out averaging 220,000 viewers. And then as soon as they removed the pin, Shannon Sharp, they started getting 40 and 50,000 viewers. It's inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, there's no doubt. Look, it was admittedly cringeworthy to see Skip just pander and what he did, saying stuff like Shedeur Sanders is maybe the best player in college football. He actually spoke last year. I know we have plenty of time to talk about Prime coming up, that Colorado, after their 2-0 start, they might be in the playoffs. And to that I go, Jim Mora, playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? And that thing fell apart. I mean, the pandering was so bad, I halfway expected him to show up in a Kangol hat and some Carl Kanai or some Aniche clothing. I mean, because I would look at these pictures of him showing off his Jordans, like, oh, he's a cool old white guy. You know, there's nothing cool about a cool old white guy trying that hard to be the cool old white guy. Like me, I lean into the fact I'm just an old codger now. I mean, look at this hair. I am what I am. I'm not changing. That's going to be my brand, but I'm not going to try to be something that I'm not. But let me give Skip Bayless some credit, Jason. On my bookcase, in my book collection, there's a lot of Skip Bayless, from God's Coach and to other books related to the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. I think he's an absolute must-read. I know there's a lot of harsh feelings from several Cowboy players led by Troy Aikman, and I get it. I am not arguing that. But when I read these books, I felt like, wow, I kind of know the history or the inside baseball of that organization. And I thought he was very provocative. I thought he was very entertaining, and I give him credit. I thought he had a very good career, at least as a writer.
He did. I think a lot of that, what you said, is true. Let me ask you this, Steve. If Skip Bayless had embraced being the curmudgeonly white guy,
yes,
who was the polar opposite of the hip hop black athlete Shannon Sharp, the role Shannon Sharp was playing, I think that would have been better TV.
Yes,
but I think Skip got bullied by today's modern culture. That like, oh, if I'm that, I'll be reviled. And Twitter and everybody will call me racist. And so I don't want to be that. So he tried to be something that he's not. And so there would have been a personal consequence if he had played the role that is actually natural and authentic to him. Curmudgeon. Older guys like, man, I really don't get this hip hop stuff. And that's your thing, Shannon. I'm trying to understand it. But would have been more successful, but instead he tried to make that group of people love him, and he paid Lil Wayne a bunch of money to make them love him, and it just didn't work. He didn't get either advantage.
Well, they got a catchy theme song out of it, okay? But you're right. The authenticity was not there. There were things that Skip said beyond sports that you said, wow, he's either the guiltiest white liberal or he's being a phony fraud. And I think that the core audience of middle America just said, we're not listening to this guy, wag the finger and tell us that we are flawed people who are racist. I think there's a part of it that is absolutely true. I mean, Jason, to swing this back to me, yeah, you're right. I love being the Korean curmudgeon. I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm not going to go out there and form my opinion to please the audience. I think once the appeal of Skip Bayless was at one time long ago, he gave his opinion. And whether you agreed or disagreed with it, you said, you know what, that's what he thinks. I hate this guy. I cannot stand him, and I'm going to watch him every day. But once he started to become inauthentic, he no longer became must-see TV for those who once did enjoy him.
Steve, give me an early thought on this, because we may have to discuss this at some other point in more detail. But it feels FS1 is now forced to, and forced to sounds negative, but they're all in on Colin Cowherd. He has all the leverage now, and my understanding is they're going to build him a second studio out in Chicago so that he can work from Chicago some of the time. I think he and his wife own a home in Chicago. That's going to be part of it. But also there are reports now that there's early reporting from Mike McCarthy that Nick Wright is going to be the face of FS1, and its leading personality, or one of its leading personalities. And it's quite interesting how they. Anyway, I'll just leave it at there. What do you think about a Colin Cowherd, Nick Wright combination as the face of FS1? Will that be more or less successful than Cowherd and Skip Bayless? First Cup Coffee, Christian-owned Patriot Coffee Company that stands for core values, family, and building community across the nation. Go to firstcup.com, use the promo code JASON, and save an additional 10% on your order. And if you subscribe, save another 10% for the life of your subscription.
I mean, the filleting of LeBron's going to be unbearable. I mean, even more unbearable than it is now. I mean, you might as well just call that clutch talk. I mean, let's just be honest about it. I mean, look, on Twitter, with guys like Apex Jones, who have made a pretty good living on Twitter, being anti-LeBron. And by the way, Apex, hell of a job. You're doing God's work there. Though I will say this, they're going to cause a buzz because the people that are so anti-LeBron and pro-Michael Jordan, who are the good guys, they're going to get a lot of content off of them. But again, I wonder, though, in the long term, in the long run, because LeBron's not going to play forever, and he's much closer to the end than the beginning, is that sustainable? That's the question.
I don't think it is. I'm not talking about Cowherd, but, Nick Wright is cut from the Bomani Jones cloth and Jamel Hill cloth and some of the other cloth of been thrown in a microwave, haven't accomplished much, and their entire brand is based off the marketing of the television network. And that only has so much life.